Hello, welcome to the session on Design of Machine Elements 1. In the previous session, we have seen the simple stresses such as tensile stress, compressive stress, and shear stress. Now, in this session, we will see the bearing stress, bending stress, torsion stress, and the buckling stress. So, let us first see the bearing stress here. Bearing stress is stress developed between two components when they are in contact. So for that we can consider this figure. Here we are having a larger cylindrical member. Inside that we are having another member that is also having a cylindrical in shape, but that is a smaller dimension. The diameter of this member is small compared to the other member. So this member is inside the other member, and when we are applying a compressive force in this direction, a stress will be developed in between this contacting surface, that is between this smaller rod and the larger cylinder piece. So between this surface a stress is developed, and that is referred as bearing stress. Now we can see that the length of the member which is coming inside the cylinder is marked as capital L. So this is the length which is coming inside the larger cylinder. Now the smaller dimension, that is the diameter of the smaller rod, that is given as small d. So in that case, the projected area of this small cylinder will be small d into capital L. That is the projected area of this smaller rod which is inside this member. So we can write the bearing stress, and that is represented as sigma BR, that is the bearing stress, that is equal to the compressive force which is having a magnitude of P, that is P divided by area, which is equal to L into D. So that is bearing stress is equal to P by L into D, that is the projected area. So this is the bearing stress, and here the first figure we are having, we can assume that it is a cylindrical pillar. The shape of the pillar is in cylindrical form, and that is coming in contact with the ground surface. So the surface stress will be developed, and the magnitude of that bearing stress can be given as sigma BR is equal to P by area. So if the structure is having a circular area, so the area becomes pi d square by 4. And similarly we are having another section here, and the bearing stress is given as 4T divided by small a L D. And now we will consider this shear stress. We have taken two members here, two different cases here. This one we are having a riveted joint. Two plates are joined together using a riveted joint here. So this is the surface where the shear stress is acting, and the shearing of the rivet will be taking at this surface if we apply a force in the two direction. A tensile force is being applied in this two direction, and the shear area, the area which is resisting this force, will be this section. That is, the rivet is this, it is having a cylindrical shape. So this is the area which is resisting the external force. So that is the shear area. So we are having only one area which is resisting the external force. So we can say that here the rivet is subjected to a single shear. So the shear stress tau is equal to external force divided by area, that is P by area of this section, that is having a circular section. So area will be equal to pi d square by 4. So this is in single shear. This member is in single shear. But if we take this example, we are having 3 plates assembled using a rivet, single rivet here. One plate here, the second plate is here, and these two are, the force is acting towards the left direction. And we are having this middle plate here, and the force on this plate is acting in this direction. And these 3 plates are connected using this rivet. So if the area which is resisting the force, we can see that one surface is this one and the another surface is this one. So there are 2 areas which is resisting the external force. So we can see that this member is subjected to a double shear. So one shear area is this and the other one it is this. This is the 2 areas which is resisting the external force. So here the shear stress can be written as tau is equal to P by 2A. So we can see here it is tau is equal to P by 2 area. That is one area here and the other area here. That is P by 2A. So this member is in double shear. Now we will consider this one. Again, this is also subjected to a shear stress. We have taken a rectangular plate like this, and here there is no hole present in this plate. So that section is marked as AA. Here we are having a hole and that is marked as H1. And the area of this hole, it is small a1. And the area of this section, we are taking it as capital A. And we are considering another section here. This is the section C, marked as C. Here we are having 2 holes, one hole H2 and another hole H2. Both are having the area marked as small a2. And here we are having another section that is marked as BD. Here we are having only one hole, but that is having area A2. Now we have to find out which is the critical section in this member. Critical section means the section where maximum stress is developed when an external force is applied. So we can see that here if we assume that these 2 area is greater than this area. So that is, we can see it here, 2A2 is greater than A1. So that means the area, the whole, if you consider these 2 holes, the sum of this area is greater than this hole. This becomes the critical section. So CC becomes the critical section, and there the magnitude of stress developed will be maximum, and that becomes the critical section. In that case, we can write sigma is equal to P by capital area minus 2A2. Capital A means the total area of the plate without any hole, and 2A2 means we are having a hole. So we are having this section. The area which is actually resisting the external force becomes A minus 2A2. So that is how we are getting sigma is equal to P by A minus 2A2. Now we will consider this bending stress. Here we are having a bar taken and a bending force is applied in this 2 direction. We are considering these 2 sections like this, AB and CD, and we are assuming that this bar is subjected to pure bending. That is, here the plane section remains plane after bending, and that is the basic assumption in pure bending theory. So we can consider this is a neutral layer that is marked as N dash, that is the neutral layer, and then when we apply this bending stress, the top layer is getting compressed like this. So we can see this length, initially it was AC, but after this applying this bending stress, the length of that section is getting reduced here. So this section is getting compressed, and we can see that this bottom layer is subjected to a tensile stress. That element, this distance, is getting increased. So this layer is subjected to a tensile stress, and this layer is subjected to a compressive stress. And we are assuming that the neutral layer, there is no tensile stress or compressive stress. So if we assume any layer here in between, like a shown one here, so if we consider any layer which is at a distance of y, marked as here, that is small y, at a distance, that is y distance from the central layer. So the distance between the central layer and the layer which we are considering is y, and if we extend these two lines, it will intersect at one point, and that distance between that point and the extreme fiber, so that is the radius of curvature. In that case, we can write the bending stress developed on this layer we can find out this using this equation, fundamental equation for bending, that is sigma by y is equal to m by I, that is equal to E by R. Now sigma is the bending stress developed on this layer, and y means it is the distance between the layer which we are considering and the neutral layer, and m means it is the bending moment, and I is the moment of inertia, and E is the Young's modulus of elasticity, and capital R, it is the radius of curvature that it is marked here. So this is the fundamental equation for bending which we have to use for finding the bending stress developed on a section. Now we have this torsion here. Here it is, we are considering a cylindrical member, and we are applying a twisting force on both ends of the cylinder, like one in this direction, the other on this direction. So if we consider a point B which was initially at this point, after applying this twisting force, this point B comes to this point, that is point C. So I can consider the circular section here, and this was the initial position of the point B, and that is coming to the point C. So the angle of twist is marked as theta. So this angle, it is marked as theta. And this angle, if I draw a line from this point to the initial position A, and this point is joined to the point B, this angle here, we can see this angle, it is the angle of deformation, and that is marked as gamma. Now here, this is the fundamental equation for torsion, and which is derived based upon these assumptions. We are assuming that the material is homogeneous and isotropic, and a plane section perpendicular to the axis of the circular member remains plane even after twisting. That is no wrapping here. Then the materials obey Hooke's law. So finally we can write this equation: T by J is equal to tau by R is equal to G theta by L, where T is the twisting force we are applying, then J is the polar moment of inertia, tau is the shear stress on a layer which we are considering, and R is the radius from that layer and the center, and G is the modulus of rigidity, and theta is the angle of twist, and I is the moment of inertia. So this is about the simple stresses and how we are, okay, now we have this buckling, and this we will see in the next session. Thank you.